What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm doing a comparison video between the AlphaEdge 4D and the Futurecraft 4D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet and want to see more content just like this. Also make sure to give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter at RealSethFowler. But with all that out of the way, let's get into it. First off, I want to give a huge thank you to Reshoevn8r for sponsoring this video. Reshoevn8r is my go-to for all my sneaker cleaning needs. One of my favorite products that they create are the sneaker wipes because it's a super easy and quick solution to getting rid of all those little stains and all those dirt and smudges that you get in your sneakers from just day-to-day wear. I use them on pretty much every pair of sneakers that I own, including the Futurecraft 4D. So if you're interested in checking out Reshoevn8r and want to grab some sneaker cleaning supplies for yourself, make sure to click the link in the top of the description and use my discount code SETH for 10% off your entire order. About a year ago, Adidas released their very first 3D printed midsole sneaker called the 3D Runner. This shoe, while extremely limited, was also a huge step forward because it showed that Adidas was really pushing forward with innovation when it came to midsole technology. As you could probably tell by now, the technology that Adidas dubbed the 3D running technology or the 3D midsole technology is no longer around. And instead, last year, Adidas introduced the newest iteration of that technology, 4D. To be completely honest, I've never actually held the 3D in hand, so I don't know how it differs from the 4D. Obviously, the color is a little bit different, but it also looks like the 4D is a bit more robust when it comes to structure. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're comparing the two 4D sneakers available on the market, the Adidas Futurecraft 4D and the Adidas AlphaEdge 4D. Before we get into the differences, let's take a look at the similarities. First off, they both utilize the same solid Continental outsole, and the reason it's solid and not webbed like the Ultra Boost is so that things don't actually get stuck up in the 4D material when you're walking around. Continuing up even farther to the 4D midsole, the main difference between these two midsoles is honestly just the color. And I mean, even then, it's still extremely similar. The AlphaEdge's 4D is a slightly lighter, more neon shade of green versus the Futurecraft's more sort of glossy and yellowy shade. Comfort-wise, they're the same. Construction-wise, they're the same. They even look like they're the same exact shape. It really looks like what Adidas did is take the midsole from the Futurecraft 4D and just slap it on the AlphaEdge 4D. I mean, honestly, other than the color, there doesn't seem to be any differences whatsoever. Now moving up to where things actually get different, the upper. The upper on the Futurecraft 4D is a one-piece booty construction made up entirely of primeknit. The primeknit is very thin, which consequently makes it very well ventilated. However, when it comes to durability, I'm a little nervous about how long this upper is going to last. The overall aesthetic is minimal, sleek, and very reminiscent of the Adidas Ultra Boost. There's no cage on the upper, there's no separate tongue, the laces just weave through the primeknit itself. Moving over to the AlphaEdge 4D, you've got a pretty tightly knit gray upper that features Forgefibre for extra stability. The Forgefibres are these interweaving plastic wires on the side and on the toe of the sneaker. Unlike the Futurecraft 4D, the upper is made up of a lot of different parts, which includes a lot of different materials as well. You've got these hard TPU reinforcements around the eyelets, you've got this separate mesh tongue, you've got what seems to be primeknit around the edge of the ankle, and then of course you've got your knit and your Forgefibre covering a majority of the upper. Unlike the Futurecraft 4D, I do feel like the shoe isn't that well ventilated. However, because of all the different materials that they used and the actual thickness of the knit, I do feel like it'll last a little bit longer. Honestly, probably a lot longer, but that's neither here nor there. As I mentioned before, the Futurecraft is a one-piece upper construction, whereas the AlphaEdge seems to have a separate tongue, but when you look even closer, you'll notice that it's attached to a booty underneath the upper. As for fit, both these shoes are a little tricky because they don't come in half sizes. In fact, I don't even think they go up past a size 11, so if you're a big footer or you're a half-size footer, you're a little out of luck. One pretty big pro that I'll give the AlphaEdge 4D over the Futurecraft 4D is that because it has a couple different layers in the upper, when you tighten the laces, it pulls the outer layer over top of the under layer, which means you get a much tighter fit. The Futurecraft 4D laces don't really do all that much. I mean, when you really crank down on them, you can tighten the shoe around the midfoot, but it's not that big of a difference. Another thing you want to keep in mind when you're buying the Futurecraft 4D is that it does seem to run small. And because there aren't half sizes, that can be a problem. I will say if you have a half size foot, definitely go up rather than down because you can't really adjust the fit. And again, it fits really small. The AlphaEdge 4D is probably closer to true to size, and the fact that you can actually customize the fit with the laces really helps a lot. Still no half sizes, but it's not as big of a deal. The aesthetics of the AlphaEdge 4D aren't that great in my personal opinion. I feel like it's a little bit busy. It actually kind of looks like the Alpha Bounce, which I found kind of interesting. And there's something about this odd sort of bumpy, jaggedy look around the ankle area that I'm just not in love with. But it's not a bad looking shoe overall, and if it's your only option when it comes to trying a pair of 4D shoes, it's not a bad way to go. One kind of minor difference that I wasn't even going to include in this video, but I think maybe I should, is that the insole on the Futurecraft 4D is just sort of a regular sort of felt-like fabric insole, whereas on the AlphaEdge 4D, although you have the same printing on the insole, it's actually made of faux leather, which sort of feels a little bit more premium. Not much, but I thought it was a nice touch. As for for pricing, at retail they had the exact same $300 price point. However, since both of these shoes are now sold out, you're gonna have to pay resale. If you aren't already aware, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The AlphaEdge 4D is pretty much going for retail right now because it was a less limited shoe and people just don't really love the aesthetic of it, whereas the Futurecraft 4D, it's kind of going for around $1,000. So if you have that kind of money and you're willing to spend about $700 more just because you like the way the shoe looks better than the AlphaEdge, go for it. It's definitely not a bad way to go. $1,000 though, that's a lot for a sneaker. I don't know if it's worth it for that. In conclusion, I think these are both really great sneakers. Obviously, more people prefer the aesthetics of the Futurecraft 4D to the AlphaEdge 4D. However, I don't think the AlphaEdge 4D is a bad looking sneaker. I think it's just when you compare it to the Futurecraft 4D, which looks so good, doesn't really hold a candle to it. In my honest opinion, I don't really think anyone needs either of these shoes. The comfort of the Futurecraft is pretty good, but it's not incredible. If you want to see what I think of the comfort of the 4D midsole, make sure to check out that video in the link at the top of the screen and at the end of the video. If you really want to try the newest innovation when it comes to footwear technology and you have money to blow, then you might be the right person to buy one of these two shoes. And in that case, if all you really care about is the midsole itself, go with the AlphaEdge 4D because it's a lot cheaper and you're still going to get the same feeling from the midsole. But if you're only in it for the hype, I think the Futurecraft 4D is the only way to go. There is a small glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel for people hoping to grab the Futurecraft 4D. Adidas has said that they're trying to make 100,000 of these this year, so there definitely will be a couple more releases down the road, so you do have a chance to grab these at retail. Whether you're lucky enough to actually be able to get one for retail, that's a different story. I'd love to know your thoughts on the AlphaEdge 4D versus the Futurecraft 4D and which shoe you like better. Once again, thank you to Rejuvenator for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check them out in the link at the top of the description and use my discount code Seth for 10% off. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.